Titterpigs, oh yeah. They're gonna talk about sweet, sweet RPGs. And it's the Titterpigs, the RPG podcast. Am I getting paid for this one?
Hey listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Titterpigs. This is episode 59. Scott and I are back in the studio, raring to go. Scott, we are almost senior citizens, or are we senior citizens?
I don't know, man. We may have to work this podcast well past our 60s because I don't think Social Security is available to us. At least,
No. I think they ended Social Security and reallocated those funds to other endeavors.
Oh, I mean, it makes sense because we want to make sure that other people who don't need the money get it, and we suffer accordingly to maintain the status quo. But hey, we aren't here to talk politics. We are here to talk RPGs, which has politics.
Wait, can we circle back to politics? No, I'm just kidding. That's our other podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, obviously by the thumbnail, you know that we're here to have a discussion with Jon Hook, which was very interesting and enlightening and great fun. John's a fun and interesting guy. But before we get into that, you've got some gears to grind in our introduction here. So why don't we just get into that, and I will try to speak up when I can in one form or fashion. So, Keith,
okay,
what is grinding your gears?
Okay. Well, you see, what had happened was, first off, Scott pissed me off. No, I'm just kidding. No. Excuse me. No, what Scott is alluding to is I have been playing recently, as a player, the Arkham Horror role-playing game. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot about that game that just chaps Keith's ass. I'm just being blunt about it, yo. Sure. I like the story. So let me kind of frame this out a little bit. We are not playing with the full rules. We're not playing the core rule book. We're just playing the starter set that I happen to have picked up at Gen Con a couple of years back. Haven't touched. I looked at it when I first got it. Hadn't touched it. My friend Roz, she got it about the same time when it became generally available up just after Gen Con. We finally got around to playing it. She's running it, and I like most of the story.
Okay.
There's some caveats to that. However, the rules are clunky as fuck.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'm used to games that have like an in-game like action point economy system.
Sure.
That doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me is I want to move. When you're in a structured scene, there's two types of scenes: narrative scenes and structured scenes. Narrative scenes, cool. Generally don't have to spend dice unless you want to do something like you want to test a skill or do something like that where you need to roll dice.
Okay.
And then you can commit some number of dice you want to roll, make your little pool, and you can roll. Cool. I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me. That's kind of like Gumshoe. That doesn't bother me.
Sure.
Excuse me. What bothers me is when you're in the structured scenes and literally every effing thing you do, you have to spend dice to do.
Okay. So
you want to move 10 feet? It's a die. For every 10 feet, you only have 6 dice. And you want to open a door? It's a die. You want to go through the door? It's a die. You want to turn on a light switch? It's supposed to be a die. Like everything you want to do is a die. And it feels so board gamey. Now, I know the game was, at least it feels to me that it was designed to attract those that were coming from the board game and the living card game and draw them in, those that like the IP, and draw them into the role-playing game side.
Sure.
Jesus Christ almighty.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It irritates me. And some of the puzzles they put in this, they are physical, tactile puzzles where there's 2 of them. No shit. You put You put a frame down on the table, do you remember when we were kids, Scott? They had those little like 3x3 plastic slide puzzles.
Yes.
Where it was like a picture of a baseball player or something, and you jumbled it up, and then you spent hours trying to put it back together.
Sliding it around, yeah.
Yeah. That's what these are. But the thing is, you don't have a frame of reference of what the original picture looked like.
Okay.
So when it's put down in front of you, it's all jumbled up, and you have to solve the puzzle. You have to put it back in the right order.
What?
You roll and you test one of your skills using however many dice you want, and during this narrative scene, and you roll dice, and if you succeed, depending on your skill level, the more successes you get, the more pieces you can move around. And I think Roz told me in the starter set, in the booklet, it's designed to take potentially like an hour to solve.
What?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
All right, hold up. I'm going to back up a minute here and just to kind of maybe clarify a little bit before moving forward. So the game itself, your characters have a set number of dice, right? And the dice,
everybody has 6. There's no variance.
Right. So the dice not only are they utilized to roll for outcomes, but they're a commodity that you spend towards a particular thing you're rolling for or want to do.
Correct. They have 2 purposes. Yes.
Okay. So you're making decisions based on how important something is and how much dice you want to spend. Now, once you pull these dice forward into your pool, how soon do you get those back to use again?
So that's a fair question. So every time you transition, as I understand it, because we've played several sessions and we're probably 3/4 of the way done with the starter set.
Okay.
Every time we transition from a structured scene, and so in a structured scene, let me start there. In a structured scene, every time we finish the round, it goes over to the opposing player, like the game master.
Got it.
Okay. They get to do something with all of their NPCs that they're running.
Okay.
Then when they're done expending their dice on their characters, it comes back to us and we have a full pool of dice again. Each of our characters have a full pool of dice. So it resets each round.
Got it.
In a structured scene.
Sure.
In a narrative scene, it's similar. But it's a little more nebulous because you're not spending dice unless you want to test skills.
Got it.
So if I want to go, like we started off the game, my character, Ace Ventura Pet Detective, copyrighted. Yes, I know. No, Joe the private eye, right? We started off in my house, this meeting, and during the narrative scene, if you want to transition from my downstairs to my upstairs in a narrative scene, it doesn't cost you any dice. You narratively say what you're doing.
Sure.
Now, if there's a need to roll dice to test a skill, you as the player get to decide, do I want to spend 1 die, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Okay.
Based on how many you have left. Now, those reset kind of on a different scheme.
Okay.
So either it transitions into a
structured
scene and then comes back out of a structured scene into a narrative, then it's reset, or you change scenes, you go to a different location, then it resets, things like that.
All right. I mean, so on paper, I mean, it sounds somewhat manageable, but there's a few things you mentioned that kind of throw the spanner into the works that kind of makes it seem not as functioning when you're playing it.
Yeah.
I mean, the big one is, so physical puzzles, right? Physical puzzles have been a thing in role-playing games for, since forever. I mean, some people love them. Some people like, this is tedious bullshit. Why am my character is like for example, 19 intelligence. I don't know what the fuck this is, but they should. You know what I mean? And but the idea though that there's a physical puzzle that you tactile, right? That you can. Why are you spending dice? You the player should be able to figure this out, but you're not allowed to do it until you spend dice on it.
Yeah, you have to spend dice because the dice gives you the number of successes you get. That tells you how many how many pieces you can slide around. That's what that gives you. So
Go.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Asinine. But what irks me about it is it is pitting your physical person,
Yeah.
brain power,
Yeah.
right? Again, with challenging you, the person, the player, with the puzzle, not your character. Now, my Joe Dirtbag fucking detective is far smarter than me, Keith, the podcaster and gamer, right? In puzzles, like I don't do puzzles real well. Like I can do crossword puzzles and word searches and Sudoku and stuff like that. But those tactile puzzles without a frame of reference, nope.
But what if you as a player, let's say you recognized it, right? You recognize what this was. Some people can do that. They can reconstruct it, and you know what it is, but you're beholden to this aspect of, well, I can't solve it until I spend the proper amount of dice. Now, is there someone breathing down your neck? Is there a time?
No, because it's a narrative scene. So
what?
Yeah,
go on.
Because let me frame it out a little bit more. So
no, I get it, but go on.
The spoiler alert. We're trapped in my house. There's this arcane thing happening, and the windows and doors have all turned into this like swirly magical essence energy, and we can't exit the property to leave to go further our investigation. To be able to leave, we have to solve this puzzle, which will break the spell, as it were, and return my house to normal so we can exit and egress the house.
Sure.
And then that's where this puzzle comes in. Hello, Cthulhu. Welcome to the podcast again. And that's what allows us to exit, but we have to do this puzzle, and it's asinine, and it was so infuriating. Roz actually, based on some recommendations from other infuriated game masters and players on the interwebs, who also didn't like it, because there's two of these puzzles. This one and one that's like opens a lock, similar, but like a slider puzzle. She actually went out and bought these little brain teaser puzzles, like the little spiked ball inside the little cage and you got to get it out. Or the two horseshoes connected by the chain link and how to disconnect them. She bought a variety of those things and said, okay, fuck that thing. Here's these. For every one of these you solve, you can move, 3 or 4 pieces.
Oh, okay.
And
that's
we all
cool.
got to we didn't have to roll any more dice, and everybody got to like tinker with these things. And it was, at least that was more fun.
Right.
And my granddaughter was blazing through these things. She's super like brain smart with these things. She's like, whoop, 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 here, whoop, 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 here.
You don't make a tactile puzzle or something such as that for your game and then let it be beholden to the dice rolls. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because, I mean...
Now,
go on.
If it was just dice rolls...
Yeah.
And then, you needed to get, 5 successes, 10 successes, and you needed to accumulate a number of successes for it to, magically align or whatever. Yeah. Cool, narrate it, but Jesus Christ, don't
give me a physical puzzle to solve, but don't let me solve it.
Don't challenge the player or player's brain power.
Right.
When you should be challenging the skills and abilities of the character.
Sure.
That's one of my big issues. The other issue I have is every time we come across, spoiler alert, ghouls.
Okay.
The ghouls rarely ever get to attack because we annihilate them.
Okay.
We go first in almost every situation.
Okay.
And the way, like, I have 2 guns. I can shoot. I can shoot multiple targets. There's multiple ghouls. So pow pow, Yeah. And then I have 6 dice. I can fire 4 shots. I can put 2 to the first shot, 2 to this pistol, 2 to this pistol. Then I can shoot again, 1 to this pistol, 1 to this pistol.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I can, as long as this pistol shoots here, this pistol shoots there, my right pistol again, my right-handed pistol shoots at a different target than it shot at the first time.
Uh-huh.
And ghouls are like mooks, right? So
Sure.
And as long as I get, and my hit is on a 3 or higher, as long as I get 1 die of 3 or higher, which is really good.
Yeah.
It does 2 damage automatically. There's no rolling for damage. It's an automatic 2 damage.
Okay.
They can't dodge it. They can't do anything.
Sure.
So we annihilate them. So
I mean,
we just mow them down.
I mean, of course, my understanding is, and I think it's, blatantly obvious by the artwork and the presentation, this is definitely more that leans towards more like the pulp adventure.
Oh,
aspect,
yeah.
Which is cool. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
I love the pulp aspect of this. It doesn't all have to be like, the world is ending and everything sucks and you're going to die regardless how hard you try. There's
if I want that, I'll play Delta Green. Cool.
Yeah, but there's plenty of room for both.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds like combat can be a bit unfulfilling,
It is. That's what I was going to say next. It's very meh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very meh.
It is a horror game after all, and you want to be at least somewhat afraid of these things that are trying to hurt you or kill you.
Yeah, you want a little bit of tension. You want you want it to be tension, not comical. It feels comical in a way, like we're just gonna mow these fuckers down, which it's pulpy. I'm good with it, but
but it doesn't present itself like that either. It's not
it's not coming across that way.
Yeah, you're not. It doesn't. You're superheroes in a Cthulhu world. No, it's there's this. I mean, it's very articulated and very illustrated, similar to the the card game, the board games, where
it's the same world, same.
Yeah,
you have a lot of the same imagery, notable characters, locations. I mean, it's all there.
In the card game I've played, and it's fun, but you most definitely you're not mowing over shit. Your first game, it's you can fail horribly.
Same in the board game.
There is strategy to it, but still, I mean, I know I've seen a lot of people talk about the starter set, right? And some of the people come to the defense like they tend to do. It's the starter set. You're not getting all the rules. Get the the core rule book. It'll flesh it out more. It'll make it more fulfilling. But again, if you're selling people an entry point to your game to go out and spend more money on it, you want it to land there. Not this isn't that good, but go get the core rule book instead. And seeing their other adventures, they're full of really cool props and handouts.
Yep.
But it's like handing someone a scroll in Masks of Nyarlathotep, and Chinese, so you can translate it. Like no. You can only translate half the scroll at a time, depending on how much dice you have.
Yeah.
It's like what the fuck?
I mean, there's some cool props in there. The story itself is interesting. It's multi-layered. It's a multi-layer mystery. So I'm liking that.
Sure.
I just wish it wasn't with that game engine.
Okay.
I just think the game engine is lacking for me. And I know Roz has the core rulebook because she owns all the books and stuff for the entire game line and all the supplements and all that.
Oh, she bought them
Scenarios.
all. Okay.
She bought it all. She
cool.
just
I know.
fully invests in stuff. She starts playing and I'm buying it all. It's a Roz thing.
Yeah.
And she so I know she's read the core rulebook. So she has bounced the starter set stuff off of the core rulebook. So I know we're not limited in our rules understanding to the starter set.
Got it.
Because the way the starter set presents stuff is not very good.
Oh, okay.
From my read through, a year or so ago, I remember that it's meant to be a programmed learning thing, and it's just
Yeah.
It's lacking in that. Like I've always said, when I was doing reviews and stuff, on rolling boxcars, starter sets. There's an art and a science to starter sets.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't get either right on this one. Pirate Borg, yes, nailed it on both. This one, not so much. So,
well, I mean, I know that there's a kind of unanimous opinion on it for the most part, although it doesn't really seem to affect people who are defending the game as a whole. Maybe if this is a speed bump, if you can get over it and maybe play it, you might find it to be a little bit different. Maybe people are just doing what Roz did. They're homebrewing the nonsense to kind of avoid some of the aspects they don't like, which is any RPG, to be perfectly honest. But this particular one is a large investment of money to have to restructure the game to suit you, because the core rule book I think retails like for $70. Their other adventure, which is another box set with tons of handouts and stuff, that's probably another $60. They have $40 supplements that take place in the Dreamlands and other things. So I mean, you're spending a lot of money on a game where if you don't like the system, what are you doing?
We even thought about like just using this, literally stopping where we were, convert the characters to Call of Cthulhu, because it's 1920s,
sure,
or early 30s where it's set in, and then just literally just drop the rules, start with Call of Cthulhu, and pick up the adventure literally where we were, and just go with Call of Cthulhu. Because it works better.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's when it was announced, oh my God, is this going to be? Could it be the one to dethrone? The king of relay? No, I mean obviously not. But is it enough to make people want to convert? And it kind of seems like no. Maybe if this was your introduction to a Cthulhu Mythos type game, it might be different. But I don't know. It just, and they're so people are buying it. Someone's buying it.
They are. But, and like I said at the beginning of this, it appeals to those who are invested and committed and love the IP.
Sure.
Of the board game and the LCG, and to draw them into another branch of their intellectual property.
Sure. And they'll be more forgiving about it too. Usually.
I just, as a lifelong role player, I just don't think they hit the money on this one, missed the mark.
Well,
that's just me.
Well, if Roz wants to sell off her stuff for 80% off, I'll buy it off of her. But yeah, no, it's hey, more power to those who like it. And to be perfectly honest, it hasn't turned me off because I got the box set like you did. What it does though, it gives me that vested interest of like watching a train wreck or a car crash. It's like, I want to see if this is as fucked up as you said it is. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it.
I want you to run it, and I want to sit back and watch and listen to your stories and go, I told you so.
I just call you at 3 a.m. like, you're right. All of it. It's true.
I can't sleep.
I'm just screaming in the background. So
it's driven me insane.
Oh man. Well, that's unfortunate, but well, why don't we roll on into our next segment with Jon Hook, which was, as mentioned earlier, a very interesting and very fun conversation. And just like to highlight, one of the points as we were talking with Jon is if there's, one of the many takeaways to get from the conversation from Jon would be some of his opinions and aspects on writing RPGs. I wouldn't say they're unconventional per se, but I think it definitely shines a light on, the many different books, websites, blogs, and whatnot, providing advice on like, what's the proper way to write a kick-ass adventure. And I think John and likewise other people we know kind of proves the point that there really isn't any correct way. Go with what's comfortable. Write about what you know. Write about what you like. And next thing you know, somebody somewhere may like it, and it may take off from there. So,
true story.
Keep doing what you're doing, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't take off right away. But but it definitely helps. I think one of the takeaways from all of our conversation is it's skill, it's tenacity, it's patience, it's having a tough hide, but also a lot of luck.
Yes. I'll agree with that. So with that, let's get lucky, and we'll roll on over to the main segment and have our conversation with John. Hey listeners, welcome back to our main segment of this episode. See, we are off to a great start with our good friend, Jon Hook. John, welcome to the studio tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Very professional.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's professional is our maiden name. It's
I have
welcome,
the same
John.
Maiden name.
Wow. Are we like triplets?
We are related in certain ways, and not just by graying beards. So it's
right.
It's definitely good to have you here. And for those of you listening who don't know who Jon Hook is a author, creator, game designer, horror, comic book, superhero aficionado. If the culture pops, he's probably into it. So there's going to be a lot of topics we're going to be discussing here today. We have questions, but before we get into that, John, I have a burning question, a 500-pound gorilla, so to speak. And one of those that has been, bothering Keith and I is, out of all of the things that you have contributed to, done, and, through not just the RPG industry and whatnot, but just general. So was it hard growing up with the Neverland smear campaign, besmirching your family's good name and unjustly tagging your ancestor as a pirate?
Right. I will tell you, it is so weird having the last name of Hook, because it's a real English word. And yet I constantly get cook. And then when I say, no, it's a hook, Hook, everyone will always, without fault, say, oh, like Captain Hook. It's gotten to the point now where I go, I don't understand that reference. Who? And then they just blanch. They'll just be like, oh my God, I overstepped. And that is I take so much joy in that, like so much joy. There's a cold part of my coal heart that will just light up a little bit when that happens. And I'm like, I will sleep better tonight because of that.
Oh,
I love it.
So you didn't answer the question, but we'll move on. No, welcome. We do definitely appreciate you coming on here. We've been meaning to get you on here for some time, but life as it does gets in the way with all sorts of things that everyone deals with. But so before we get into key burning questions, we do have a little background check that we tend to do with people who come onto our podcast. And one of the standard questions that we like to know, and the answer seems to be just a variety of stories and ways that they got into either gaming, tabletop role-playing games, or whatever the catalyst was. What was little Jon Hook's story that led you into gaming and RPGs?
It was Christmas morning is, I want to say it was 78 or 79. I'm probably 79. And I had the John Eric Holmes basic box of D&D.
Yeah.
Basic Blue. Oh my God. That absolutely blew me away and changed my life. And to this day, the Holmes basic set, that is my basic D&D set. Those are my books, and the route that I took into D&D, which immediately, we were able to get, me and my friends, we were able to get the hardcover, advanced Dungeons and Dragons books and collect those as well. But yeah, that was my route, was through the basic D&D. It did come with dice, not chits. And then we immediately got the books and started collecting the modules. And at that time period, we were buying between, I don't know, it was a group of 4 or 5 of us. Between us, we were buying everything that TSR was producing. So we were playing every game, Right. If it said TSR, we were playing it. But that was awesome. Yeah, we loved it. It was such a great time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, those halcyon days, are long behind us, but we all have those wonderful memories and whatnot. And it's, still, I can still see, the game store and the modules, and flipping through them, because the one I went to had it like the comic book store, where they had like the wooden containers where you can flip through them just like comic books and whatnot, and just going through those and just this let's give this. Wow,
you guys had a game store? I had to go to like KB Toy and Toys R Us.
Well, I mean that too, but no, I mean Southern California here, we had game stores out here, but they were the old stories, right? The old stories of just the guy behind the counter who just couldn't give a fuck about anything, and if you had a question, he made you feel this small, and of course, it was still, I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. But we're not here to talk about me, so we have some other questions to ask you, John, and why don't we go ahead and have Keith take over the steering wheel here.
Ooh, I get to drive the bus.
You get to drive the boat. Now, in true Titterpig style, we may start with something, and it's just going to be like driving Dead Man's Pass. It's going to curve and loop back and loop to loop and whatnot. So the structure will meander as it does.
Well, since I'm wearing a Grateful Dead shirt today, we're getting on the further bus, and we are just going to go.
Let's go.
All right, everybody drop your acid. Here we go.
Dang. I preemptively dropped my pants. All right, hold on. Let me get the acid.
And the old man show starts.
Oh, great. We already have our Patreon-only video, so this is perfect.
Excellent. All right. So, John, you're big into horror writing, and I know you've done some other things, but if you could put your crown on, your king's crown on, if you could write for any game system, licensing aside, any of that, what one game system out there that you may have never written for, doesn't matter the genre, what would it be and why?
I do, even today, I really like trying out a lot of new game systems, a lot of engines, right? I want to try out some of these different engines. And one of the things that's, kind of attractive for me is a company that kind of will have a house engine and then cater that house engine for a variety of games. I find that to be really attractive, because if I can learn the house engine, the primary house engine, there's usually a less of a learning curve to get into some of the other games that they may offer, which is one of the things that really kind of made me crazy as a kid with TSR, because even as a kid, I just assumed that that's what would be happening. If you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you were collecting and reading Dragon magazine, and you saw the ads for Gamma World, and your head exploded like mine did, and you were like, I must get Gamma World. And then Gamma World first edition had no game mechanic even remotely similar to D&D. It was like being a crash dummy in one of those commercials and you're slamming into the wall. I just didn't understand. And it made it to where for the longest time, games like that, were you got it for, the Trumpier art, right? You collected it for the art that was in it. You weren't collecting it to play, or you house ruled the shit out of it. So in fast forwarding to modern day, I love how like Chaosium uses their basic role play engine, which is incredibly intuitive, and it is my favorite engine to run, but I like exploring other engines. And so to write for another company, which I have not written for yet, but it has a house engine that I find very attractive and one I would want to try and start writing for and using, is Free League's Year Zero engine. It's I don't know if you've played their Alien role-playing game, or it's their engine is named after their house IP that they created. Well, I don't think it's their IP they created, but it's the first game that they were working on, which is that Mutant Year Zero. So it's the Year Zero engine. But it's such a cool engine it's a dice pool, and beyond just being a dice pool, to be a tool for the game master is that the monsters, the opponents, most of them will have a table, like a reaction type of table. And so when it comes time for the monster's turn, you can just simply roll on the table and see what kind of attack they'll make or how they're going to react to that situation. And you can modify it accordingly, to make it a more dynamic and situationally appropriate, reaction to what's going on, which I did all the time when I was running first edition Alien. And while I have the second edition, I haven't read through it yet, so I haven't run any of the second edition, but I absolutely loved the first edition Alien game. And I get it. They're not, because it's a 20th Century Fox IP, they don't want Joe Schmo, or, I'm probably blacklisted. They don't want Jon Hook writing an Alien game, but I want to write something that uses the Year Zero engine. I think that would be a lot of fun. So,
okay.
But yeah, I need to get off my duff and do that.
Aren't you good friends with Andrew Gasca? I mean, can't you tell him?
I know of Andrew, and and I would love to meet him someday. And Andrew and I I've discovered similar backgrounds. So growing up, I was also big into comic books, and so I had this weird, misguided dream of being a comic book artist. And so after my time in the Army and I went into college, I went and have I have a degree in art. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in illustration. What that does not allow me to do, though, is sequential art. I can't draw the same guy doing this, looking the same and making it look as if he's like transitioning and doing stuff. And see, I'm a pretty crappy artist. I don't know how I finagled this university to give me a degree in this field, but somehow I did. And so I've later discovered all these pictures that I have in my head. If I'm having a difficult time transitioning them down my right arm into illustrations, I need to transition them instead into the computer and type out in descriptive language the things that I see. And so that's how I kind of shifted, I pivoted and righted myself into writing instead of drawing.
Okay.
That's excellent. And that's an interesting format too. I mean, I'm sure people have similar like methods, because as people have different ways to draw and articulate themselves. And, sometimes some people are blessed to just put pen on paper, but others have a definite transitional aspect to their creations to eventually get to what they want. And that's probably the aspect of the illustrative aspect that's in your mind, I would assume, has led to some very articulated and flowered words, because you're translating something specific to make it visual through words, and next thing you know, you're writing stories, RPGs, and whatnot, and then handing it over to people who can actually do transitional artwork for you.
Right.
See, Scott and I find just like vomiting words and then flushing them work really well. Right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that brings me to a question that I have, and it steers back a little bit in time. And so you spoke, of the transition from artistry into actual writing. Is there a specific point, as someone who was a fan of role-playing games and whatnot, that was your transitional period? What was it that moved you from fan of of the hobby and maybe middling around in there as we all do, and tweaking stuff, to actually, I'm going to get something out there that other people can see and enjoy, and I'm going to publish this, or would like to.
From 2000 to about 2009, I was strongly in the comic book hobby, and I was me and one of my army buddies, who, after we both rotated out, we got out, we went to college together. He introduced me to my wife. I talked him into coming up to move to Kansas City. So, so we've been friends for, close to 35 years now. And so he and we played D&D together when we were in the Army. And then we were retelling those stories, although with all those serial numbers file off, as a fantasy-based comic book. And so we were doing that in 2000 and up till about 2009, sporadically self-publishing. And I was just getting kind of frustrated with not being able to kind of get any kind of forward transition, forward momentum in comic book writing. And at that time, where gaming had kind of taken a bit of a back seat, by around 2009, it was starting to ramp up again as far as my personal interest in returning to the gaming table. And Chaosium and Call of Cthulhu had still been a long time love of mine. I played first edition of Call of Cthulhu with a buddy of mine when we were in high school, and I was looking them up online, and it was online, and they were doing this at the time. This was still when Charlie Crank was in charge of Chaosium, and they were doing these annual contests for their monographs. Mm-hmm. And so I saw this thing a call to enter in a contest, write an adventure. And so the winning entries will be published. Now, here's the rub with that. So I entered 4 times, and I was successfully published 4 times.
Oh, Jesus!
Wow.
2 Call of Cthulhu and 2 just basic role play scenarios. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: you don't actually get to peek behind the curtain and see the Wizard of Oz back there. Right. And so these monographs would come out, and there might be 4 to 6 entries in that book. I'm making the assumption that all 6 people who entered into the contest were published.
Right?
I'm gonna, because to this day I haven't met anyone who's come up to me and said, "John, you're a son of a bitch. I sent in an entry in the 2009 monograph and I didn't get published, but you did, and you suck, and I'm going to punch you in the jaw." Right? Nobody has said that to me, and I will believe until proven otherwise that we were all, we were all winners, right? Everybody
gets a gold star.
Everybody gets a gold star. And as Syndrome says, if we all have powers, then none of us are special, right? If everyone's special, no one's special. Right. So I think that's what exactly happened, but we'll see. But I will say, entering those contests, those monograph contests, did give me the swollen head enough to think I could do more of this. And it was around that time. Gosh, I think it was around that time. Goodman Games had a license from Chaosium, an official license from Chaosium, and they were publishing their Age of Cthulhu line.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're all grown-ups here. The Age of Cthulhu line, especially, there were only 9 of them, 9 and 1 special. So I guess technically 10, but the special was kind of a half book, so 9.5. I don't know. But at any rate, there are 9 numbered ones. And the early ones, like 1 through 4, are really, really dungeon crawly.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because it was dungeon fantasy, dungeon guys who, authors who are writing, for many of them for the first time, a investigative mystery Call of Cthulhu story. Adventure, not story. It's an adventure.
Right.
And so they still applied the same creative mechanics, which is draw a map, a dungeon, stock the dungeon, maybe put in a couple of puzzles to intellectually, slow down your players, and then there you go. And go free. Yeah. And the mystery was kind of secondary. And it was interesting because one of the critics, one of the guys who's online and will review and do a lot of critical reviews of material is Pookie out of the UK. And Pookie absolutely shredded those initial books. And
tell us more.
I tell you, Joseph Goodman is a master, because Joseph is one of these guys. He's like, look, if I know I don't know a thing, I'm not going to try and continue to do it wrong. I'm going to get someone who knows how to do it right to help me.
Right.
And Pookie's reviews were spot on. And so Joseph was like, listen, we clearly need someone with a Call of Cthulhu eye to guide us in this. And he said, will you be our editor on this? And Pookie was like, well, yeah, I'll edit. So he started editing. And just as he started editing is when I joined, and I was writing and submitting what would become Age of Cthulhu number 7, The Timeless Sands of India.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a wonderful working relationship with Pookie in all 3 of my books, Timeless Sands of India, Plateau of Lang, and Lost Expedition. And I, as a writer, especially a young writer at that time, I learned a lot and I grew a lot. In fact, I will say Pookie's editing and the friendship that I made and still have, I'm still friends with Pookie as well, but I feel like I'm really good friends with Oscar Rios, who is a a masterful writer and an excellent teacher. He's a great mentor. And Oscar gave me some early tips as well on how to work my craft and to kind of, become a better writer in structuring my mysteries and making them scenarios and that kind of thing. And so I will always thank them for what they contributed to my toolbox and to helping make me a much better writer than how I started.
Oh,
very cool.
That is excellent. Yeah. No. It's wonderful, and I think it's necessary for those who decided to travel this path. That it's not a solo journey. You grow not just through your own personal experience, but collaborating with others, getting to know, not just more creatives, but people like Pookie. And Pookie has had that effect on many, many different games, and his humility will deny it every single time.
Fact.
But he has done quite a bit, and you won't even know it. But still the idea that he's and that his not only his reviews but his influence as an editor and people on these various projects has touched many, many, many different people. Metaphorically speaking, Pookie, in case you're listening, but
not illegally, not strangely, not weirdly,
right.
No. And I totally agree. Pookie is a giant among men, but he definitely has that deep English humility about him. So it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, that's only in regards to this. Now, if you're at a booth and he wants a free book to review, no, that humility goes right out the window.
Yeah.
He will stand there, and just wait, for the whole con.
Yep. Fact. Seen it, witnessed it in person.
Oh, excellent.
So keeping with the writing theme, so it is becoming more and more prevalent every day. The big topic, right? Every day, in particular here in the U.S., AI, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own thoughts and feelings on it, right? From publishers to independent creators to editors like myself. What is Jon Hook's thoughts on AI?
AI, in my opinion, is an excellent tool for professional industry of code writing. So I work in IT. Professionally, I work in an IT house. I work with developers, but I'm a software tester. So they'll write code, and then I validate it to ensure that it does what the end user wants to do. And every day, my superiors are saying, "Hey, we need you to start integrating AI to write your test cases." Because they think it's a magic button that it'll just write it faster and do it, maybe better. I have my issues with that, but I think for a developer, if they want to, hey, I need a bit of Python, a type of computer language. If I need a script of Python that will do this to the database, then having the AI write it, I suppose, is fine. And they can utilize it like that. But when it comes to a creative endeavor, which our games are creative endeavors. I'm a writer who's a creator. There are artists who are creators. When it comes to the writing and creating an artistic endeavor of doing that art style, AI has no place, in my opinion, has no place. And I really appreciate when books will say have a stamp or something on it that says this is all humans only or no AI used.
Right.
And I get it. especially from an art perspective, art is expensive. It's not easy for for artists to do what they do and use the materials that they use, especially if they're creating art physically versus, working virtually. But even still, working virtually, there's still tons of time. And then they've had, unknown numbers of hours put in just to learn the skills needed to do what they're doing. Having an AI do it is just, it's a cheat. And I'm not in favor of any kind of AI. And so I will not support products that use AI. If it's a creative endeavor and I want to use it at my gaming table, I won't use AI.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think
we've had I think we've had at least 2 episodes, but one primarily discussing this and whatnot. And we had a pro and con, situation of that, and someone, who was, but this was a few years ago, so who knows, it may have changed. But one of the things that I have seen in just fiddling with it, or even at a base level, like let's take for example, like Grammarly, right? Mm-hmm. For something such as that, someone who is dyslexic or something, having it just say, "Hey, you've misspelled that." Fine. Now, spell checker can do it too. But one of the things that I kind of notice when trying it and whatnot is when it starts, like you said, getting creative. Hey, this sounds better, doesn't it? And 99.9% of the time, just like, no, turn off, because what you're suggesting doesn't make sense with what I've already done, and so I don't need you. I don't need your creative influence. I just want something to make sure that I spell check, or there's, the proper grammar, which there's already plenty of stuff that does that. But like you said, in particular capacities, right? Or certain things that may be necessary to reduce the time for particular reasons, kind of the same way. I mean, I can kind of see it. But there's also the different styles of AI. AI is not an all-encompassing explanation of the different types of AI and its utilities. But the problem is the one that people are trying to market upon is, it can do all the creative stuff you want. You don't need people anymore. You don't need employees. You don't need artists. And you don't even need writers. Just tell it something, and it spits out. It just spits out the most basic of crap, and it's functional to say the least, but it doesn't mean it's good. And there's just not enough. I don't see it ever becoming something where it's just it's going to take the place in the creative aspects. Now, if you want to throw a bunch of data in there and doing your cancer research and have it kind of work through that to help you something with that. I don't know, maybe that's something I can just turn a transitional eye to, but, that's a different aspect of it. But, the artistic aspect of it, both in the writing and the actual, physical artistic creations it spits out with. I mean, my stupid little memes and artworks that I do all the time in Photoshop, I have been accused of, well, that's great. Which AI programs use? I didn't. It's Photoshop. What? It's like, yeah, it's old school Photoshop.
I just got rid of the background. I found some images and just, it's essentially color forms is all I'm doing.
Layers, buddy. It's layers.
Yeah, and
that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. And to be perfectly honest, it probably takes less time than somebody spitting in a bunch of prompts trying to tweak it to find that perfect thing that they're trying to do, as opposed to, I just took a picture of Robert Downey Jr., a picture of a dragon, and I typed in, Comic Sans font, and I'm done. And it's a joke, it's funny, and whatnot. But they're like, well, that takes time. I was like, no, it doesn't. I'm not trained in Photoshop. I'm not trained in speaking of podcasting, I'm not trained in editing, but it's one of those things where it's like, even though it's just basic nonsense most of the time, it's like I enjoy the process, the creative process. and that creative process is removed. You know, you're getting a piece of artwork that you're editing. You're not creating. You're getting a piece of writing that you're kind of editing. You're not creating.
Right.
It. And so so all of that aspect is just is gone.
So I have a friend of mine. Father, he's in his 40s. He and his wife have 2 young boys that are both in elementary school, so grade school level. Mm-hmm. And as you can imagine, he's got a lot on his plate and not a lot of personal free time.
Right.
And so he was telling me this tale. He's like, I kind of found a way where I can do some role playing. It's just by myself, but it's been pretty good. He goes, I wanted to show you this transcript and see what you thought about it. I was like, okay. So he had downloaded and saved a transcript, and I can't remember. I'd have to look it up because I don't even know what these different AI platforms are. Mm-hmm. There's several different ones, from my understanding.
Yeah,
but he went into one of these platforms and he gave it all these prompts, and he said, as the role of a dungeon master, run me through a traditional high fantasy, high magic fantasy role playing game in the style of 5e Dungeons and Dragons, a city adventure, and all this stuff. So he gave it all these things, and he specified. He goes, new and unique. I don't want to play anything that's published and all this stuff. And it was it was traditional theater of the mind. He was going to be rolling real dice. The AI would, just produce its dice results. So there were no graphics or anything. It was all text, like I guess old school Zork or something. And
wow.
and so he sent me this transcript, and I was reading through it, and it was, he kept getting these different prompts, and like, you see this and this. What do you want to do? What do you want to investigate? And so it was a lot of it read a lot like a choose your own adventure. He'd read a paragraph, he'd get a couple of choices or 3, he'd make a choice, and then maybe there was a die roll or a confrontation of some sort, and he'd deal with that and everything. And it read pretty cool, but the primary thing that I walked away from was, and not to fault him,
sure, but
he played what I believe was a rules accurate 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons game without spending a dime. He didn't have to pay Wizards of the Coast, or he didn't have to pay a games retailer who's selling the games books.
Sure.
He didn't have to spend any money to do that. Now, do I spend money on every game that I play? No. There are a lot of different avenues, but the whole fact that this could become, if it was unregulated, if an AI engine is fed from any source, the entire rule set, suddenly the owners of that rule set could potentially lose control of their property, right? Chaosium sells their rules and sells their game, and those who buy it, we can do creations, and we can play our games, and we can do the stuff. But we still do all this with the understanding that we enjoy a product that's being produced by a company, and because we want them to produce more product, we patronize them, and we give them money, and we say, hey, thanks, and have you thought about doing stuff in this venue or doing that, and and we make suggestions, and sometimes they might go, it's a pretty good idea, let's do that. Or they might even say, hey, that seems cool, why don't you write that, join us on this team and write that. That's happened. I can attest it has happened. I've had ideas and they said, hey, why don't you write that for us? And so I would hate to see the misuse of AI cause the downfall of a company because their rules got out there and suddenly people just started playing the game and AI was their game master, and they're able to play for free, and the company loses tons of money.
Yeah.
I hope it's not happening now.
And that's an absolutely scary prospect, and that is a direction, if you recall, that Wizards of the Coast wants to go.
Yep.
They wanted to go. I don't know if they still do, but at one point recently, they wanted to go in that direction to where you could play without a game master, because there's a game master shortage according to the D&D arm of WotC, and they wanted
that's just propaganda.
I know,
yeah,
but they wanted some type of AI bot to be able to be a surrogate game master, and that is a scary prospect because anybody, you, I, or anybody, another company, can buy access to, OpenAI, ChatGPT 4 point whatever, and do what thou will with it and feed it what thou will. And all of a sudden you can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's nefarious or not. I
think John hit on the one keyword though. And I think it'd be a different topic and a different story if it was actually regulated and moderated, and what was available to you through these bots were strict guidelines, and there were copyright controls, and there were things involved where people could actually choose
right,
to have.
Because WotC wanted to do
there.
it through D&D Beyond or whatever their platform is.
But
yeah,
but it's not, and that's the big thing. It's not necessarily the process that people have an issue with. It's where they're getting their shit from to make the shit for you. And as it stands now, it's still the wild fucking West. Because and that's the big deal. And I don't think that they obviously tech billionaires, they're grounded in reality. They just don't get that. It's just money, money, money. This is the big thing. Let's try to cash in before the bubble bursts, and then we'll move on to the next big thing.
But even the end users aren't connecting the dots either.
Well, I mean, but you look at your typical kind of person when it comes to that. They're not on Twitter, or I'm sorry, not Twitter. They're not on Blue Sky or social media. They're not hearing the cries of foul from the creative community because they're just not dialed in. They're just an average everyday person who just bought their book from Amazon, and they like playing D&D with some friends, and that's so far out of their hemisphere, and they may see something on the news, but it's like, well, that doesn't bother me. Right. And so they just carry on as they do. And that's the unfortunate aspect. And those are the ones that they're trying to feed all the nonsense to because
they don't know the impact of their decisions.
Right.
So, and that's the other side of that coin, which is a scary reality. Like they don't know the impact their decisions are causing on people and the industry and everything else. So,
well, the good news is they're feeding AI into the Department of Defense, so we won't have to worry about this anytime.
Right.
I have to use it every day and be exposed to it every day. Thanks for reminding me.
That's right.
But I use it for technical stuff, not creative stuff. So
whatever. We still hate you.
All right. So
okay,
it's not the only reason.
Spinning off of the AI and writing and creative things, what you had said, John, kind of spurred me into this question. So writing and creative endeavors, right? Like your friend was doing this thing, right? But not in the stepping away from AI and creative writing, journaling games, right? They're the big craze.
Yeah.
Right. You're familiar with them?
I have played the 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I have that. I've played that once. And I think it's a cool concept. And I was like when I picked up my copy and I was starting to play, and I was super gung ho into it for like 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes and it still wasn't over. And I'm like,
okay, so
and I was
that leads into my question.
I noticed in the last 10 minutes of those 30 minutes, my notes that I was journaling, my notes were getting much more shorthanded, much more abbreviated. Like,
okay.
I'll just, in my head, I'm like, I'll just remember what I meant when I wrote that. And so I scribble something and I get a little further. And then by 30 minutes, because I wasn't interacting with anybody, I wasn't doing anything with anybody, you know? And I will also put out there though, that I am a shit player. I'm usually, because I'm normally the forever DM, right? I'm usually behind the screen. When I am a player, I usually suck balls, right? And I'm quiet. I sit in the background. I let the other people do stuff. Also, the character archetypes that I tend for, you know, that I gravitate towards, they are non-combat scholars or non-combat doctors, medical doctors. So I'm either trying to do book learning or I'm trying to do healing. But keep me away from the front lines. Cause most of the time I don't find, you know, intensive combat that entertaining. On a rare occasion, I'll do something and I think it's kind of cool, but that is completely different when I'm a game master. If I'm a game master, I love to be the bad guys. I love to be the monsters and be, you know, in the combat throes for that. But if I'm heroic, I'm like, nah. I played in a I played in a Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars, you know, with the damn story dice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh fuck that game. And the whole thing is about expanding your tech tree and getting all these things from your tech tree. And I was just this mechanic and I had an R2 unit that I would engineer. And my entire thing was hide in the shadows and send the R2 unit out to lob grenades and things like that. And I just, you know, GTFO, I'm just going to stay out. Right. So I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No. That was good. We're getting a bigger, broader picture of
what a douchebag I am. Yes.
We'll let the comments decide that.
Yeah, right. But I think we got an answer without getting an answer to my question. Mm-hmm. So, journaling games, love them or leave them?
I'm going to say leave them.
All right. I kind of figured that's what the answer was going to be. Because I have asked other people in the past, just in casual conversation, not necessarily on the podcast, but because they're all kind of the craze and the rage the last couple of years, some people are just so passionate about them. They love them. Mm. They're their creative outlet to doodle and write. And like you, I don't get it.
Like John, after a bit of time, your logical side kicks in. You're like, I could be writing a scenario right now.
Exactly.
And the book's closed.
Yeah, exactly. But then I get the other side of that argument though from some folks, like depending on what the journaling game is or its theme or what it's all about, it becomes the catalyst for something else down the road.
Of course.
So it becomes their creative nexus or whatever, the seed for them to do something with that information later on. Be it a homebrew scenario for their long-running game or their home, you know, something within their homebrew world, you know, something kicks off from it, whatever, it becomes the nexus point for something else. So there's that side of it too. I don't get it. I would say leave them. But thanks for entertaining that question, John.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for asking.
We can always edit this later. So you know,
We'll just add more Lebums.
you're primarily known, for writing for several Call of Cthulhu scenarios and your involvement with them. Not just in scenario writing, but also you were part of the Miskatonic University podcast, and
Yep.
you're focused primarily on a lot of horror and investigative games and whatnot. So when it comes to writing investigative RPGs, there's a lot of philosophies on it. What is yours? I mean, there is the standard 3-clue rule, maybe a node-based type design, another structure, those kind of things. Is there one that you particularly follow, or is it just, whatever inspires you as you're creating the scenario?
It's a whatever inspires me in the creating of the scenario. I don't really have a method that I try and stick to hard and heavy. Most of the time, my creative process, because I think cinematically, is I might be inspired by the climax of what I envision the investigation, where it will take the investigators and how it will end, and usually some sort of confrontation. And so then once I have this like vision in my head and I'm like, oh gosh, how can I get to this point? Then I'll go backwards and I'll say, okay, what would be a good starting point that and kind of mystery would unfold and bring them to this point? So as an example for that, for the Lurking Fears group of guys, group of game masters, they will run games at many of the popular conventions, Gary Con, Gen Con, Origins, right? And so at Origins, they try to run, and so far I think for the last 3 years, they've done it successfully. But for they'll run a major Call of Cthulhu tournament at Origins, and I was there during their second one that they ran, and it was so cool. I was one of the game masters. There were 8 tables, and all 8 tables we were running the exact same scenario, and we had a particular method for scoring points, all that was broken down and whatnot. And so after that experience, I was talking to Matt McLeod, who's the head guru for Lurking Fears, and I was like, I would love an opportunity to write what would be next year's module, tournament module. And he was like, we'd love that. Do you have any ideas? And I did. And I was like, I would love to do a scenario that is set in Innsmouth after the raid, and all the players at the table are bureau agents, because at the time it's not officially called the Federal Bureau of Investigations. It was just known as the Bureau of Investigations. But that's aside. But all of the players would be members of that. And I had a way that I wanted to have the pre-gens created so that it wasn't just 6 copies of the same occupation. I kind of blended these occupations. So I would take like, you are a federal agent, which is an occupation in Call of Cthulhu. But I also said, you're a federal agent who's also a demolitions expert. And so I would like take some of the skills from this and some of the skills from that, and I would hybridize and make brand new, hybrid pre-gens that I used for this tournament. And I did that for all 6 of the pre-gens. They were all, different variants of this thing. So it made it different that way. And so in the creating of that scenario, I had an idea of what the conclusion would be. And I worked, from there, I was like, how do I get to that point? And in that, the conclusion is Dagon stands up in Innsmouth Bay and begins destroying stuff and whatnot. I was like, I would love if the investigators had to fight a fucking kaiju in Innsmouth. That is the ending that I want to go for. and
Nice.
and it was awesome. It was awesome because again, this is getting a little deeper in the woods here, but players love explosives. They want dynamite. They want grenades, right? And I front loaded them with all these explosives. They had all this stuff. There were even 2 Civil War cannons that could be
nice.
rigged to be operational again, if you figured it out. So there was a little bit of little gamer logic in that too. But I front load them with all these explosives. But because you're federal agents, you had orders. You had these missions that you were trying to accomplish. Go through the town, do these things, destroy the buildings when you're leaving. Because I was trying to goad them into using their explosives before the ending shows up. And
of course.
It worked. It was great because it worked about half of the amount of time. 50-50 players would be like, all right, so, hey, the order said, load up the dynamite, go out here, safe distance, zip, boom, and then kablooey, there goes the building, and then Godzilla stands up in right. And they're like, oh shit, I just used all my dynamite. But sometimes they had it available, sometimes it didn't. But that was the great thing. It was I thought it was fun. So far, it sounds like a lot of people have had a good time with it, but
yeah.
But for me, that's the creative
awesome.
process. Is I'll typically think of this like conclusion, and then I'll back up and I go, how can I get there and make it fun?
Yeah, there's all sorts of different philosophies on this. Like I had mentioned, and then of course there's the never-ending railroad versus sandbox conversation that goes on. And and certain aspects of maintaining, and I'm not saying player agency, but the character agency. Are you guiding them somewhere, or are you giving them the freedom to make decisions, which usually can very easily lead into a spiral? Because next thing you know, you're trying to keep a streamlined scenario without it, turning into a sandbox. But then again, if you're creating a sandbox, how do you keep them from just saying, fuck it, we're going to Tahiti. We're done with this mythos shit. And
if it's a real sandbox, they can go to Tahiti. And I will say, and I know I'm not the first to say this, but there is nothing wrong with a railroad. The only problem with a railroad is if you've taken away every choice. If it's just a straight line from A to Z and there was no other meanderings, then that's a poorly designed railroad. But if you need to get from A to Z, but the path is A to B to F to J to M and then Z, or it could have been A to B to D to Q, back up to L, down to O. So if you have the ability to move around in the middle of the railroad, then that is a well-designed railroad, because it is an investigative mystery. For it to be a successful mystery, it needs to have an opening, a starting point, and it needs to have a conclusion, an ending point.
Yep.
And anything in the middle, you can do you should be able to do possibly in any order, right? You'll start here, and that'll get you here, and then you should get a number of choices, and then you can work those choices however you want. But no matter how you do it, you'll eventually winnow your way down, and then you're going towards the conclusion. You're going to find yourself on that rocket train that is taking you straight to your conclusion.
Yeah, it should funnel you. Toward the conclusion.
Exactly.
No, it's there's this unspoken agreement when it comes to scenarios that I think people just tend to ignore, especially published ones. Once you've spent money on, where it's like, okay, guys, we're going to be playing this particular game. We'll just say. Whatever it is, what's in the cellar, right? Your introductory
that
game.
One sucks.
Still, it's. But my point being is everyone's there collectively understanding that we're playing this scenario, And, the idea that, someone or one of your players is like, well, what's my motivation? And you're like, your motivation is we're going to have fun together tonight. We're going to play this scenario. Well, what would make my character want to do this? And sure, I have no problem with, threading the needle or dangling the carrot. But the idea of, of like someone completely derailing a scenario just in the name of agency or player agency, to me is always a fallacy, because it's just like, hey guys, come on. I spent $30 on this goddamn module. We're here to play and have a good time. Yes, there's invisible walls. They may be 200 miles wide, but let's not ruin the fun for everyone. And so that argument always tends to just hit me flat when people talk about it. I'm like, there is no argument. What you're describing is not a railroad. What you're describing, most people's complaints are your GM is guiding you or making you do stuff you don't want to. And that can occur in anything. But the idea that, you want to keep on task to enjoy and get to the conclusion of, like Masks of Nyarlathotep, that your keeper just spent, $99 on the books and $150 on the props. Jesus Christ, people, have a little bit of empathy.
Work with it.
Let's play this and enjoy the crap out of it.
Right.
But
it should feel every scenario. Be sandbox, be it a sandbox or be it a more linear story. We won't call it a railroad. We'll call it linear. Should feel like it meanders, but leading you from the beginning to the conclusion, where the players feel like they have an involvement. Whether they
of course
do or don't, what level of involvement they have, maybe more or less. There's a line from the beginning to the end, and how far they stray from that line, but everything, it always comes back to that line, and as they get closer to the end. And that should be, everybody should understand that going into a game.
Yeah, we're still here to play a game. We're here to have fun. And that's, I don't know. It's one of those things that, and of course, my general complaints fall from, someone said something on social media, just like, okay, whatever.
That's the thing that chaps my ass all the time.
I have yet have sit down with someone I've ran a scenario for, or I played in one, where it's been like, man, this bullshit, railroad. I mean, I came to this convention in a 3-hour time slot, and I was expecting to do whatever the fuck I wanted to. And it's like,
that's what really blows me away. And I really enjoy running at conventions.
I do too.
I have such a great time at cons, and a lot of the stuff that I write with the intention that this is a con one shot. I feel like I write a lot of one shots. But I was at a convention. I can't remember which one now, and I was running a game of Call of Cthulhu, and I did have a player who just wanted to be an agent of chaos. He was trying to throw the game off and do something bombastic and do this weird stuff. And I did pull him aside, and I was like, hey, I just want to get an understanding on where you want to go with this. Is there something that you're working towards? Is something I can do to make it, different for you? And it's like, nah, I just feel like my character, I don't know. I just want to be crazy and do, and he will say, I don't really care what happens. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that if you're okay with that. And he'll be like, yeah. And so then I let him, do what he wants. And then I will basically have the character ejected into the abyss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how about that? And he was like, well, that was crazy. I was like, well, I mean, you opened up Pandora's
That's what you
box,
wanted.
Yeah. And they'll be like, yeah, I guess I kind of did. And I will let that happen, and let them go.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, I guess I'll throw out the 15 questions I had about what's in the cellar. Keith?
Yeah, and I'll throw out my 3 that I had about what's in the cellar, since we, since you've alluded to your thoughts and opinions on that pretty boldly. Sucks.
I think the adventure's fine. The writer sucks, is what it is. Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Thanks for the clarification. We'll move on.
That's the other Jon Hook, like Steve Jackson. That's the UK Jon Hook.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. All right, I have one last question
Okay.
that I'd like to ask. So we talked before we got on air a little bit about like gimmicky things in games, right? So, and you've talked about like putting puzzles in your games, logic puzzles and stuff, right? Because that's kind of part of mysteries and stuff, right? Solving things. So are there any particular, be they gimmicky or not so gimmicky elements that you do like in games that you are playing, or that you do like to put in your games, your scenarios?
Well, it's funny that we're
Things you're fond of.
Yeah, that I'm fond of. And so it's so funny. We were just kind of, bagging on what's in the cellar. So in what's in the cellar, there is in the very beginning, in the very opening, so it's the call to action scene, right? The investigators are in a lawyer's office, and I did the research on this. It was time period appropriate. It was right when those large reel-to-reel audio recorder machines were being invented and stuff. And so I put it out there that this New York law office was doing the patent work to get this out in the market. So they had a prototype, and they were using it. And in this particular case, they had gone to the prison and they had recorded a message from this prisoner who is looking at death row and, possibly being executed for the murder of his wife. And so he recorded a message for the players, for the investigators. And I wrote it out as this little, read aloud text. And someone actually put together with, playing with audio and stuff, and it really sounded like a crackled, 20s style recording, and it was awesome. And I think at the table, toys like that enhance the experience at the table, I think those are fun, right? I think they're great. I love handouts. Most of the time it's just expedient for a handout to be a picture. But if the handout could be an audio file and your experience in listening to that audio file, that expands your experience and deepens your interest in that scenario. If the handout is a dagger and it's an actual dagger, that expands your experience and deepens your involvement in the scenario. If it is a puzzle, I have an issue with puzzles because our characters, none of us are as smart or as strong or as dexterous or as attractive. I have a face for radio, as these characters that we're playing. And when it comes to puzzles, if you put a physical puzzle on the table and say, boom, this is the obstacle you have to get through before we can continue the game, in my opinion, you have just wrecked the game, because your players, they're not going to be as intelligent as the characters. You need to have a game mechanic workaround. Maybe, roll dice, and based on, number of successes or level of success, depending upon the kind of game that you're playing, Game Master gives the player X number of correct solutions to a multi-layered puzzle or something like that. I'm not a fan of, we're going to halt this game because you need to solve a real world puzzle. Are we going to make it so that in order to have a social interaction in your role-playing games, you're going to actually need to threaten the game master or another player or seduce another person at the game table? I think that is ridiculous. And so If it's a toy and you can just kind of, look at the toy, and maybe the dagger does have a clue on it because there's an emblem or something on it. That's one thing. But if it's a logic puzzle, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of real world puzzles. And maybe it's because I've tried to design scenarios that had real world puzzles, and I just suck at them. Because I'll do research where I'm like, I want to do this puzzle, and I'm like, I get to this roadblock where I'm like, do I just copy this puzzle and put it in here? Or I mean, the most that I'll do is a draw maze, like go through the maze, right?
Oh,
take your pen and draw through the maze, because if a child can do it, then I'm okay with that.
So like at the table at Denny's.
Yes. Yes. Perfect.
That's my speed. Oh yeah. I ran into that recently where Impossible Landscapes has a plethora of handouts, right? And some of the handouts have real world puzzles that, if they're not hard, but things like anagrams or cipher codes that, if someone recognizes it and they actually try to figure it out, they will see what the information is. But likewise, if they don't, there is a role, or they have a particular skill that they can figure out what this is. So it's kind of two sides of one coin. But the one major one that I ran into, and we're hitting spoiler territory here, people, regarding Impossible Landscapes. But there's a particular handout where something in the corner has like a little tiny folded piece of paper, right? And if you notice it and you think, well, what is that? You can rip it open and find something in between the folds of the paper. This is like a card, like a invitation or whatever. And they'll find something, but of course none of them saw that. Now, then of course it falls into a whatever, I forget. I'm playing too many games, but the perception aspect in Delta Green. But it was a learning experience for them, because Detweiler has put a lot of these visual cues on the handouts that they won't miss if they don't see it physically. But there still is a chance that these physical clues hold something if they are actually paying attention. So now, like every single handout, they're doing like the scan from Blade Runner. Left, right. Zoom in, and they're like, "What is this?" But it's become the opposite. I'm like, "This is fucking nothing, dude. It's just a piece of paper. It's just what you see. Let's stop." Yeah,
and I mean that's unfortunate because and then even the players who did see it for real, like they noticed the turned corner and and found the dual layer or whatever. Was there an extra reward for that? And I'm going to say
there
is there or no?
Go ahead. Yes and no. Yes, there is a reward. There was some information inside of it.
But is that information still gained if you did it through the role play? Through the dice rolling where you used a skill.
Yes.
So there was nothing extra, right? So if you discover it in real life, where like, hey, this looks dual layered to me, peel, right? I could see where the reward for that is not only the information that's in there, but because you did it in real life,
right?
Here is 10 extra luck points, or here's a Benny that you can cash in later in the game, right?
Okay.
Versus, Game Master gives the physical clue, gives the toy, and they didn't notice that it's dual layer. All right, everyone make a perception roll. Oh, look, it's dual layer. And then they still get the information, but what they secretly don't understand is that no one earned the secret bonus, which was whoever figured it out was going to get some luck points or get a Benny or some sort of, other non-story related bonus, in the game. I could see that being it, because that would be the only reason why I would want to give a physical toy out there that they may or may, because if they're going to get the same information, whether they did it with their own eyes or they did it with, the character's spot hidden eyes, why did I even go through the process of giving you the toy? I should have just had you roll the thing. But if you could get a secret Benny that really doesn't change the game, it just may make you better, make you a little more, invested in the game. Because I'll tell you, the player who gets a bonus like that, they're more invested, right? Yeah. I'm running for a group. I have a Monday group. We were just playing last night. I'm running Doc Herber's first campaign that he wrote for Call of Cthulhu, Spawn of Azathoth, right? Which I think it's a super great, fun campaign. It has a weak ending, but I changed the ending to, in my opinion, I think it's a stronger ending with the way I do it. But I do that a lot. I almost always will alter anything that I've read and go, I'm going to do it this way.
As one does. But because I'm running, this old campaign, I'm running in 7th edition, where you have luck and things like that, because I do enjoy letting my players, do luck spends and stuff, because even then it's kind of like old Call of Cthulhu with like it's 0.5 closer to being pulp. We're not running pulp rules, but if you have luck spending, you're almost like 0.5. You're halfway towards luck or towards pulp. And so when they have a major encounter and they've been successful in fighting something or doing something, I reward my players during game, not waiting until the end. I'll say, oh my God, that was fantastic. Because I encourage them to be colorful in the way that they describe, they do certain things. And I was like, that was fantastic. Take, roll a D6 plus, or 2D6, but do something. And then they'll say, oh, what's that for? You regained that much luck, right? I'm giving people luck as they play. And the players have responded amazingly to it, because they're like, hey, if I do cool stuff, I could get cool rewards that I get to use immediately as we keep playing. And they're just going all in. And it's been amazing.
Very cool.
Risk versus reward.
Yeah. Did you get the classic box set reproduction? Is that what you're running it from?
No, I'm using an actual first edition. It's
excellent.
Technically, it was second edition. It was written for second edition. That was the very first version of it. Was written for second edition Call of Cthulhu. Okay. But that's what I'm running.
Nice.
Nice. So, before we wrap up, we're going to try something new with you, and we're going to do a little bit of a little lightning round questionnaire, kind of
hoping for either or. All right,
and
me too.
Again, join our Patreon, and we can go over this later. But one of the things we didn't touch upon, and this is kind of one of the things that I've learned about you, just generally speaking, also through the podcast with Seth, is you're a comic book fan and have been for quite a long time. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a few questions, and we'll just kind of see where you tend to lean. So first question for you: Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Spawn or Hellboy?
Hellboy.
Okay. Usagi Yojimbo or Cerebus?
Ooh, I'm going to have to go Cerberus.
Okay. Let's see here. Image or Dark Horse?
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse or Vertigo?
Vertigo.
Okay. Boom or IDW?
Boom.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see if we can squeeze out a couple more. The Walking Dead or Y the Last Man?
Y the Last Man.
Okay. Very good. Very cool. Let's see here. What's a good one for you? Here we go. Let's see here. Sin City or 300?
300.
Okay. Wizard Magazine or Comic Shop Guy recommendations?
Comic Shop Guide recommendations.
All right. And then finally, this will be another easy one for you. X-Men or Avengers?
Justice League of America.
Oh man, okay. And then one more quick one. This is comic book related though. If you were able to transport yourself and be the part of the creative team of any of the superhero RPGs that exist up to today, which one would you want to be a part of?
Oh wow. That is a great question. I have a soft spot for Jeff D's superhero game.
Villains and Vigilantes?
Villains Vigilantes. The original Villains Vigilantes. I forgot what he's calling it now under Monkey House.
That's right, yeah.
But Villains and Vigilantes, again, was a game mechanics system that was far too complex for its own good. It was basically unplayable. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to have been in that room to help design and create that game to, hopefully make it something that would be more playable and easier to play.
Cool.
Either that, or I still consider Cyworld a superhero game, and I would probably want to do Cyworld.
Wow.
Cyworld is pretty damn awesome.
Oh wow, I've got that on my shelf somewhere. I've never looked at it.
It's pretty badass, and I love it also because of the art. As we do with so many role playing games, Cyworld is just chock full of Bill Willingham and Matt Wagner art.
It creeps up almost every. I'm sure the Grognarn Files or Grogmeet. They're virtual Grogmeet. One of those lads or lasses you'll see a Cyworld game pop up every once.
Almost
in a while.
always.
It's still out there, and
the rules
and
are.
breathing.
It's got a terrible engine. It's not very well playable. It's an engine that you would need to hack or just use a good engine like Basic Roleplay and run Cyworld with a BRP skin.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, good sir.
Thank you, guys.
Judgment will fall.
Had so much fun. This was great.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, my friend.
Yeah. So, John, where can people find you? And also, just one more question: do you have anything you're working on that you would like to mention or steer people towards?
I don't have anything that I'm working on right this second that I could really kind of talk about, only because it's not an NDA. It's just too early to have anything worth talking about. But as I get deeper into this particular project and we learn more and I learn more about it, then it'll be something I can talk about. But please, really the only social platform I use, and even then it's sparingly, is Facebook. So you can find me as Jon Hook on Facebook. But please check out Modern Mythos Podcast. I'm sure we'll have a link in the show notes for this episode on where you can check out the Modern Mythos podcast that I do with my co-host Seth Skorkowski.
Who?
YouTube darling.
That guy?
Yes, YouTube darling Seth Skorkowski. And we have a lot of fun with that. And yeah, just check me out there. And then again, you mentioned I'm a big comic book guy. There's a great kind of social media site for comic books called League of Comic Geeks. That's really where most of my social stuff is going. I'm doing a lot of, chatting and talking with people on League of Comic Geeks. So, it's totally free.
Okay.
Sign up on the League of Comic Geeks and friend me there, and we can talk shop and do whatever there. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
I will be signing up to that as soon as I can.
I think I might already have an account. I'll have to check, but I think I might.
You need to read more than Heathcliff and Garfield books to join.
Dude,
Team, so.
Stop. You know I read indie books. Stop.
Sick burn.
Jackass.
Oh, well, again, this has been excellent, John. We definitely appreciate it, and would love to have you back on again, because I didn't even cover 30% of the stuff I wanted to talk about, but this has been great fun. So
thank you so much. I had a great time. I hope you guys have a great time at Chaosium Con. Yep. I'm so sad that I won't be able to make it this year. I'm definitely trying to target next year, and I'd love to hear about your antics at Chaosium Con.
Oh, there'll be antics, that's for sure. There will be lots of antics.
And there's fire.
There's already something. There's already something I'll tell you. There's
hopefully no fires,
happening.
but plenty of antics.
There's already antics even before, but we'll tell you after we're done. So
nice. Yeah, we're saving that.
But
John, everyone, thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure, as always, to chat. And get a little deeper insight into your old gray matter. So, but again, thanks for joining us. So until next time, John, we're gonna say goodbye to our listeners, and we're gonna roll on out of here. We're gonna park further. We're gonna hop off the bus, and we are gonna come down off of this trip.
Bye.
Bye.
Deuces.